was thinking about a presentation that that I would do for maybe a friend of mine who got into business and they wanted to automate more. They wanted to see more of what marketing was working. So that's really the intent or the idea behind what I wanted to do with these slides is show what I would recommend to someone on a consultation basis, on a friend basis, when they started up using ActiveDEMAND, because I think there's a ton of power in there, but that like all that power and flexibility comes with kind of if you start analyzing everything that you can do, it gets to be a little bit much. So I think most people just want to know what should I do with at first. Now, before I get too far, I just want to mention a couple of our other learning resources, just in case you haven't been to them or you don't know maybe which ones are used for which. Starting off with our support articles. Our support articles are on support.activedemand.com, and that's really where you'd go to learn, like front to back, how to do one specific thing with a lot of detail. And I think that's like if you're in the platform and you want like nitty gritty, like which button do I click now, and then what? That's really the place to go. I find myself going to the support section there to learn some things or to check up on some of the different fields that I might be using. So that's really one of our best resources. The next one is our YouTube how-tos, and I think those are really great if you need to learn about one particular thing, because those YouTube videos have a little bit of voiceover, they have some context in there, and you can kind of follow along at your own pace. If you want to get into ActiveDEMAND and really learn everything, or if you want to, let's say you're deploying for yourself or for clients of yours if you're an agency, the certification system is really good for learning everything about the platform, so that you can be really dangerous on what you can do. Our blog on activedemand.com/marketing tips, that has some interesting use cases, I would say. There are some articles in there that mention how to do a particular thing or why to do a particular thing, and they're really in depth on the context. So they have a lot of context, a lot of application in there, and I think that's why that blog is really good. And the last piece is in monthly webinars like this one. These are designed to be somewhat informal, kind of go through one area of the platform. And today we're going to be doing the basics of ActiveDEMAND. And really, when I was thinking about what to put in here, there's a lot I could put in here. But what I wanted to do was go through, again, what I'd recommend for someone who just set up the platform. And when I mean just set up, I'm assuming in this presentation that you've already gone through some of the stuff in the wizard. So we're not going to show you how to set up tracking codes or anything like that. But we're going to assume that you have gone through those steps, and now it's time to start using the platform. And one of the best uses I see from ActiveDEMAND is getting really good insight into what marketing is working. I think that a lot of people spend a lot of money and time on marketing that's not working or not doing anything, and ActiveDEMAND helps show what's working, what's bringing home the bacon, and what's making the phone ring. And then the other thing we're going to do is show how to build some emails and build a little bit of automation around those emails with autoresponders and some drip campaigns. So without further ado, let's head into it. Now, the first thing I'd really recommend is call tracking, and the reason why I'd recommend call tracking is it's super easy, and a lot of leads that a lot of businesses get in are still based on phones. They're still based on getting the phone to ring. So really, marketing needs to know this. Marketing needs to know what they're doing that's working, because sometimes it can drive you a little bit crazy doing all this marketing. You're posting stuff on Facebook, you're doing stuff on Twitter, you're doing these Google ads, and not knowing what's working or not working can drive you a little bit nuts. So at least adding call tracking to the website is very quick, and it's a very easy way to understand what's making the phone ring. And the way I'd recommend you get call tracking going is by using, I'm going to throw one acronym in here, DNI, Dynamic Number Insertion. What this does is allow different visitors to the website to see different phone numbers. So one visitor might see 8088 as the last 4 digits, another one might see 8086. And all we're going to do, or all the system's going to do for us, is figure out who called based on which phone number rings. And that by itself can be a very powerful thing, because now we know what pages on the website they went to, how they got to the website, which is really important for marketers, and really important for understanding what's working and which pages are even important on your website. Oh, that can be a really good one too. And the way that we set up DNI or dynamic number insertion is we first get the tracking code on the website. And if you've gone through the wizard on the way in, you've already done that. There's a WordPress plugin, there's some HTML options, you can use Google Tag Manager. The second thing you want to do is figure out what phone number you want to replace. Most people will have a phone number on the website all over the place. You don't actually have to go into code and replace that. ActiveDEMAND will do that for you. The next thing you need to do is set up a DNI or dynamic number insertion group for that pool number. This sounds really complicated. I promise you it's not. We just click a couple of buttons and we're there. And then we add phone numbers to the DNI pool. So typically most customers will add 4 or 5 phone numbers into their pool. You'll need more if you have a lot of people on your website. You'll need fewer if you have fewer people on your website at any given time. So if you have an average of 2 or 3 people on your website at any given time, 5 would be plenty phone numbers to uniquely identify each person that's on the website. And then we add restrictions, and this is only really if required. If you find that you get a lot of calls from India or Russia or something like that, we can add restrictions that we don't show dynamic numbers to those areas, so that we don't clutter up the data with a bunch of unnecessary calls that aren't really leads. Once you've got it set up, a DNI group looks like this. And again, nothing really, there's nothing too complicated going on here. We've got the phone numbers that are to be replaced on the left-hand side. So you can see here that we have 2 phone numbers that we're replacing. And we are replacing them with the pool numbers on the right-hand side, those tracked phone numbers. So again, customers and prospects that go to the website will see one of those phone numbers on the right instead of the phone numbers on the left. And when the system detects a call on any of those numbers, it'll be able to tell who came in and which pages they went on and all that other good stuff. And that's fantastic, because then we can see what's working. We can look at reports like this. This is just a little section of a report that I just pulled out. And this shows an email that we sent out, and it shows that we got some calls in off of this email, which is really important. This is, again, proving that our marketing's working and seeing which of our marketing's working. And we can see here that we got a couple of calls in. I've glittered up the phone numbers there so you can't see them, but these are real calls that we got in just a couple days ago off of one of our emails. And the other thing that it does is it lets you see what is making the phone ring, which could look something like this. Now, you'll see that there's a big chunk of direct and unknown. There's still going to be a lot of people who go directly to your website, pick up the phone and call. They're your customers usually, so we won't be able to tell which way they got to the website. But for a lot of people, we will be able to tell, and that is, again, whittling down this like black hole of how do customers get in contact with us, and we're learning more and more and more. So we can see here there's some organic search, there's some email, there's some pay-per-click, there's lots of other ways that people called here, and now we know. So that's the first thing I'd recommend that everyone set up on their website, is that dynamic number insertion, because it does offer so much insight into what's working. If you don't have a lot of phone calls though, then maybe you can skip that. The next thing I wanted to talk about was email campaigns. A lot of people, when they get a marketing automation platform like ActiveDEMAND, they want to get into emailing. And by the way, I've had like 3 coffees this morning, so if I'm talking too fast, go ahead and add your question into the question panel on the side there, and we'll get to it. But email campaigns are really interesting because you can do so much with them. They're still a great way of getting in touch with prospects, and I think that well executed, they still give fantastic results. When we get into doing an email, I think the best thing to do is to do like a traditional strategy breakdown of what you're trying to do. So number one, let's start with a goal. What are we trying to get out of sending this email? And that goal should be specific, it should be measurable, it should be something that's helping the business. So I want leads, I want appointment scheduling, I want that kind of thing. Information to my customer sometimes can be important, but generally I want to make sure that I have a way of measuring whether it's working or not, because there's a lot of ways to do email wrong. And the only way to know if I'm doing it right or wrong is to take a look at the measurements afterwards and see if it's going well or not. Next will be the strategy, or what the concept is. After that, I start looking at targets, which would be the demographic or persona. If you have personas done for your business, fantastic. This is going to make it very easy for you. Next is medium, and in this case, I'm going to be using email. And then content and creative. So what kind of content am I going to be putting together? What kind of creative in terms of like images do I need, or video? I can start scheduling a timeline and then assemble a team. And that might just be me. That might just be a one-person team. But in general, going through this pre-work checklist, even if it's just like, yeah, it's just me, check, is still a good idea, because like a pre-flight checklist like this can sometimes catch a bad campaign before you send it out. It might catch a campaign where you're like, oh, actually, I guess I don't really have a goal on my email. Geez, I need to add a call to action, something that drives them to what I want them to do, and it should make that clear. Once you're done the pre-work, you can start getting into building the list. Again, this is best if you have a target demographic for your campaign. It's going to make it very easy. If you are building this list from scratch, or you're building it yourself, you may want to consider adding additional information, not just name and email address. What product might they be interested in? What industry are they in? What's the size of their company? Some of these different attributes will change the content that you'd send to them. So you might start building an email and say, okay, well, I'm actually looking at my companies, and I have companies that are less than 20 people, and I have a lot of companies that are over 500 people. I shouldn't send the same content to these two companies, because it actually should change. So that might help you in understanding what to write afterwards, and whether you need 2 emails or you need to break it out by company size or industry or something like that. Usually when you build these out, they'll be in CSV or Excel format. These are just different tables that you've used in Excel or in Google Sheets. And the other option is that you could export or synchronize with your CRM. So if you're using Pipedrive or Salesforce or Pipeline Deals or Nimble or No CRM or any of these other ones, those are all really good options. And ActiveDEMAND has native integrations with those CRMs as well. So you can kind of control these campaigns from your CRM as well. And then the last thing to consider is your local email spam laws. So you need to know which of these you need to take consideration with, whether it be the Canadian one, CASL, or the European GDPR, CCPA, or CAN spam in the US. If you have a CRM and marketing has access to the CRM, this is going to be a lot easier, because now you can pull people based on those demographic information. So you might actually be able to get in there, take a look, and say, you know what? I want to pull all the companies in our CRM that are in the finance industry that we haven't won any deals with, and that are in Canada. And you could do that and pull down a list that's in a CSV format, and it might look something like this. You would have all their information in the CSV, and this is the information you would need to be able to pop it into ActiveDEMAND. Again, this is assuming you don't have a direct connection. You just want to pull a file down and upload it into the contacts area. The thing that I would recommend is to sanitize the data before uploading. If you have a garbage list or garbage information, you're going to get garbage personalization. So one of the things that we like to do is to include a first name and throw that into the email. You can't do that if your first name and full name are all messed up, and sometimes it's last then first. It's just not going to work. So make sure that your list and your data quality is good before popping it up. Again, uploading a crappy list can really mess up the whole company. If there's multiple people that are using the system, or multiple people that are using the CRM afterwards, or ActiveDEMAND, if you upload these, make sure that the list is good quality. And then upload the list and map fields. Again, in ActiveDEMAND, this is very easy. You just map out, yes, first name is first name, last name is last name, phone number is phone number, and so on and so forth. Next, you'll need to look at what kind of email template you want to use. We would really recommend customizing one of the templates. We have a bunch of templates that are kind of available for you to use, but you'll find that you may want to change the color on one of them. You might want to change the content area size, or you might want to change the style of it to so that matches more closely what you're after. So we'd really recommend customizing one of those built-in ones. There's kind of a couple of different styles of emails you can send. One would be like a one-off corporate. This would have like one big content area in the middle, and you can customize it. It's definitely corporate. The next one, and this is one that we've found a lot of success with, is personalizing it from a salesperson, or making it very informal and personalized. This style of email is starting to become more popular, and we're seeing it get better performance than your traditional formal corporate email campaigns. And then the last style is like a compartmentalized digest style. This is your traditional newsletter style email, and these are useful for sending to customers of yours to let them know what's up and that kind of thing. So to get to your email campaigns, you're going to go through automation campaigns. You're going to pick it, and you're going to go edit the email. And in this example here I'm showing, there's a compartmentalized digest style. So we're using a header. We've got each different section has this little gray bit above it, and then a content area in the middle. Again, you build these out to how you need them to be, and then edit all the content in there and get it ready to go. Just a couple of things that I would recommend in terms of tips and tricks for email. Definitely agonize over the subject line. That subject line is going to influence your open rate, and a bad subject line over a good one will just not get opened and not get viewed. So definitely agonize over that. Consider the persona, the person you're writing it for, and consider where their mind space is at and what they would react to. Keep in mind that some emails, some subject lines will get the wrong person to open it, or the person in the wrong mind state to open it. So you can't just say free beer in your subject line. Yeah, your open rate will be amazing. Your everything else will suck though. So it has to be accurate, but again, consider who you're writing it for, and really agonize over that subject line. A couple of don'ts: definitely don't over design it. I think a lot of people get into this trap of trying to design pixel perfect emails. And the problem with that is that people get emails on their desktop, people get emails on their phone, people get emails on their tablet. They use Gmail, they use Outlook, they use Safari. There's just too many different platforms to try to get this pixel perfect. You're instead aiming for the design to hit them in the way that's going to be effective, and that's going to get them to do what you want them to do. And really, that's the goal. Don't lose sight of the goal. Don't forget about what you're trying to do and what kind of reaction you want to get out of them. So that's the long and short on emails. There's a lot more to emails, but I would really recommend going to the learn.activedemand.com for more information on those. The next piece I wanted to talk about was web forms. Most people have web forms on their website. This is a way that they have customers contact them. In terms of why use an ActiveDEMAND web form instead of a website one, or a Wufoo forms, or a Growdy forms, or something like that, ActiveDEMAND forms have a couple of unique things to them that you don't get with those other form solutions. One, you get contact data into the system. Okay, well, that's kind of table stakes. Two, you can track partial form submits. This one's kind of interesting because you could have like a multiple step form. Step one, name, email, and then they fill that in, and then they get step two. Okay, can you fill out the rest of this information? The advantage to that is that first step, you can get that as a partial form submit, and you can actually trigger those as leads. So you could get some of the people who just filled in the first step, send that off to sales, and have sales follow up with them. That's something you can't do with a lot of these other email platforms. You can build multi-page forms, and you can also take immediate action on submission. And the action you can take is really wild and varied, but we'll get to that in a minute with the autoresponders. First, let's look at how you actually use these web forms or get them onto your website. You access them through the assets area, through web forms. There are two places that web forms can be. They can be on like internal ActiveDEMAND landing pages and that kind of thing, and they can be on external pages on your website. I'm going to just show you guys the external one to get them onto your website, and that would be just through there. You build out the form. They have different fields in there. You can see I've got a simple one here: title, full name, product interests, and email address. I would say that there's just in terms of what you put into a form, try to keep it as minimal as possible, because the more form fields you add, the less likely someone is to fill it out. But also consider that some information you'll need, right? Some information is really crucial to understand, and it drastically changes how you sell or how you market to that prospect. So definitely include that. I've included product interests in this one because for this fake company, I've got two product lines that are very, very different. When you're adding fields to the form, there's a couple of different, I just want to show this content area in our form builder because there's a couple of things in here. One is that you can see that there's like content area at the top. That's just for your form elements that aren't really like people filling in fields. The stuff down below is the fields that they fill in. You can see that we have contact information like first name, last name, that kind of thing. I would recommend you guys use those ones, use those pre-built form fields, because those, if someone fills them in, that'll update the contact. Whereas if I just put a text field in there and I rename it to something else, ActiveDEMAND might not know what to do with that field. But if I use the first name field and I drop that into a form, it automatically knows what that is. Down below we have the survey fields. These are the fields that you would only add them if you don't have a pre-built field for that purpose. And then there's the custom fields, and these are where you're really cooking with gas. So first, you need to create your custom fields before you use them in a form like this. But if you have them created, when someone fills it in, it will update their contact with that information, and you can use it later to market differently to them. And this is some real power that you can get with ActiveDEMAND, because this is where you can personalize based on something very, very interesting. Now, what happens when someone fills out a form? Well, that's up to you. You could choose to redirect them to another page. That's what we have on the left here. We could send them to a confirmation URL. Or if you want to, we can do it in place. And you can see here that we can fill in a text field in there that will display once they've filled in that form. So a couple of different options there that we can consider. Now, how do we get those web forms onto our website? Well, for on WordPress, this is easy. There's a WordPress plugin. I can click on that insert ActiveDEMAND shortcode, and I can jam a form in anywhere. You can use this inside templates. You can use this inside posts or pages. And it's a very easy way of dropping that shortcode into a page, and you can just easily select the web form. It's very simple. The other way, if you've got a different CMS, a different website system, you can use the export form with HTML or CSS using the export form option. There's also a div option just to the right there if you'd like. And all this does is show you the HTML. So you copy and paste the gobbledygook from this thing into the HTML field thing on your CMS, and all is good in the world. You'll have a web form on your website that will link to ActiveDEMAND. Couple of tips here. I've been talking about web forms and that kind of thing here, but if you are actually wanting the customer to book a meeting, use the appointment scheduler, because the appointment scheduler leads are almost always better. We actually use it ourselves. This is how we schedule demos with ourselves, and our demo bookings are usually really good. Now compare that with a contact us form fill, where you might see a lot of people trying to sell to you through filling out that form, and it's very different. So I definitely look at using the appointment scheduler if possible instead of forms. Again, build out those custom fields before building your form. You go into your ActiveDEMAND account settings to build in those custom fields. The form, if it can detect who is filling it out, it will update a contact if they already exist. So if it sees like the same email address, for example, but a different name, it will update the name of the person rather than making a new contact. It will create a new contact though if it can't find that person. And again, use those pre-made fields where possible. Now, what if we want to do something fancy when that form fills out? Well, we can use these autoresponders. Autoresponders are a basic bit of automation that you can use immediately after someone fills out a form. I would say that If you're just doing one simple thing, definitely use an autoresponder. If you're doing some really complicated stuff and you need to do it for more than one form, you might want to use a campaign or an automation instead. But for something simple, autoresponders are really nice. This is where you would send an immediate reply back to the prospect. Hey, thanks for filling in our form. We'll get back to you in 2 business days, and that could be it. But you could get more complicated. Remember that in my form that I showed you there, I was asking about their product of interest. What if I use that in my autoresponder? Ooh, I could personalize this for them. So I could actually take a look at that. So here I have a decision, and the decision I'm checking for is, are they interested in delivery services? And I only had 2 options in there. So if they are interested in delivery services, fantastic. If they're not, it's the other one, training services, I think. I think that's what it was. So you can see here in this decision block, I have it on workflow because it's within this form submit. Check this form submit. On that form submit, did they select delivery services? And if they did select delivery services, I can do one thing, and if they didn't, I can do something else. So I can have a little mini workflow like this. This is getting cool because now I can personalize the responses I'm giving to people based on what they've done with the system. So if they were interested in delivery services, I'll send them to the delivery services autoresponder. And if they're not, I'm assuming they're interested in training services, so I'll send them that email. So this is just a simple example. But what if I wanted to do more? Well, what if I emailed people and I wanted to get them to rate the company, get them to rate their service? Well, I could do something like this. I could check the form. Did they rate us 5 stars? And if they didn't rate us 5 stars, maybe I could throw that into my CRM for follow-up. Maybe I could email the customer services rep and say, hey, follow up with these people. They didn't rate us 5 stars. We demand 5 stars. We deserve 5 stars. If they did rate us 5 stars, well, let's go a different way. What if we emailed them and asked them to review us on Google or Yelp? That would be handy. Because we need more of those Yelp reviews. And then we wait 1 week. And then we check, hey, did they review us? And in the context of this, I'd be checking to see if they clicked on the link. I can't actually detect if I got a new review on Google and I can't link it to this particular customer. So I'm just gonna check if they clicked the link. And if they did click the link, I'll say, hey, thanks for reviewing us on Google. And if they didn't, I'll say, maybe I'll ask for a review one last time. So you can see this autoresponder is starting to have some smarts. It's starting to do potentially what a salesperson or a marketing person would do if they were interested in getting more reviews. Now, something like this might actually fit better inside of a drip campaign if you wanted to build it in a bigger context kind of a thing. Drip campaigns are really interesting in how they help a prospect down the sales funnel. They take them from kind of interested to definitely interested, now a lead, now ready for a salesperson. And you can even use them for handling people really at any point in the sales funnel. You could use drip campaigns early on. You could use them much later. You could use them after they close, after they've bought something from you guys. Definitely, they use personalized timing based on when the prospect entered, which means one person getting that drip campaign starts their timer on that day. The next person might be weeks later that they start their drip campaign. The nice thing about drip campaigns is that they greatly improve consistency. One of my big beefs with working with salespeople, for example, is that you might say, okay, we need those Google reviews. Can you ask our customers for Google reviews? And some of them might do it, some of them might not. Some of them might send a really good email, some of them might send like a half-assed email, and the consistency isn't that great. But if you can centralize it and you can automate it, the consistency goes way, way up, and that is really a better place to be in. And it's a really great way of performing repetitive marketing tasks. Quarterly surveys, post-sale introduction, these are all fantastic places to start using a drip or a nurture campaign to automatically do what a person would do, what an assistant or a salesperson, if they had the time, would do. An example I have here for a drip campaign is recovering an unresponsive prospect. This is a prospect that a salesperson has tried to get a hold of, Maybe they've called them 3 or 4 times and they just can't get a hold of them, and now they're throwing in the towel, and now it's time for the system to take a shot at it. So this is user triggered, and that means that the salesperson has set this person as unresponsive, and then it's time for the system to take care of it. The system will wait 2 days, and that's going to send them an email. And it's going to send an email saying, hey, you know, I've been trying to get a hold of you, can't get a hold of you. Here's a link to my appointment scheduler to book a meeting with me. And then we check, did they click or not book? And if they clicked on it, but they didn't book a meeting, maybe we'll add them to our hot leads list so that the salesperson can do something with them. If they didn't do anything, well, let's send them another email. And if there's a wait time associated in here of a few days, so we're not going to hit them twice right away. And then we'll wait 1 week and we'll send another email. So this is just a quick little example of a drip campaign. I would set up some goals along with this drip campaign that kicked the prospect out if they completed one of the goals. So one of the goals might be if they call in, kick them out of this campaign. If they fill in a form, kick them out of the campaign. Anything that is useful for me, or anything that that I might consider valuable, I'll definitely want to kick them out of this campaign so that we're not hitting them with emails after the fact. Now, in terms of drip or nurture campaigns, there's a couple of different tips or tricks. One of them, again, just with our email campaign, establish our goals first. What do we want to see out of prospects, and how are we going to measure that? That's a definite thing that even though everyone knows you should do it, people forget all the time. And then after a while, you look at a campaign, you're like, what are we trying to do with this thing again? Oh, I think we're trying to get people to book a meeting. Oh, do we have links for them to book the meeting? Oh, we don't. Oh, well, let's add some links for them to book a meeting. Definitely find some internal subject matter experts, or SMEs, to ask about timings or number of times to reach out. So for that unresponsive campaign that I just showed you, the best people to ask about that would be sales. Someone in sales already has that automation built and is using it, but they're just doing it manually. They manually send the emails, they manually set a follow-up reminder for themselves, and they're just really organized and really good about it. So I need to find those people, and I need to steal all their good ideas. Borrow, be inspired by all their good ideas, and build those into my automation. Definitely think about what circumstances you want for someone to exit the campaign. So if they reply to that email, do we want them to exit? If they fill out a form, if they call, like where do we want them to get out? And then definitely steal the best content from sales and support. Don't reinvent the wheel. Don't write with a blank piece of paper in front of you if you don't need to. So that's the summary. I guess again, this presentation was designed to kind of inspire you to see what's possible with ActiveDEMAND, what some of the first steps should be. In terms of our learning resources, again, those support articles are the best full place to get all the understanding about a particular concept. We've got those YouTube how-tos if you prefer video content. Our certification system is really good, and the advantage there is that it's got some testing in there so that you can understand it a little bit better. And if you want to get certified in ActiveDEMAND and use that when you're talking with customers, that's possible there as well. Our blog has those, again, more wrapped up in a concept kind of ideas. And then we've got monthly webinars like this one. If you get stuck, definitely reach out to support and start up a live chat with them, because they're there for you guys, and they're there to help you succeed. And that's something that we want to see all of our customers do, is succeed with the platform and get value out of using ActiveDEMAND. So it's something that we're very concerned about. So make sure that you reach out. And your other option as well is to book a support session so that we can show you how to do something live.